Formula One, a little bit away from the football madness that is currently going on, but we'll have more details of the DStv Premiership and the FA Cup in later bulletins. Well, Formula One is in the iconic Monaco street circuit for this weekend of action. Red Bull are looking to continue their dominance, but their world champion Max Verstappen only just managed to hold off Lando Norris in the last race. And now to speak to us about this weekend's race and other things in the fast lane, we are joined by Lufefe Mayekiso, who's an F1 analyst. Lufefe, a very good afternoon and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Gwen. Thank you for having me.
Let's look at Monaco. I mean, going into the season so far and looking at what happened earlier, a little bit of an interesting finish leading up to the big one tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, we're excited because Monaco, it's very difficult to overtake. So where you qualify, you're most likely to finish as long as you have a drama-less Grand Prix. But we do know that we see safety cars more often than not. So it's good to see another pole sitter for the first time in 9 races because Max obviously qualified in pole for the last 8 races, including some from last season and the 7 we've seen this year.
I mean, what does that say in the bigger scheme of things?
Well, that Red Bull's dominating the sport at the minute. But like you said in your intro, I mean, it feels like the other teams, they're starting to close that gap bit by bit. First, McLaren. I mean, Ferrari has always been the best of the rest for me, as in the second best team. But I feel like in the last 2 Grand Prix, it felt like McLaren were the best of the rest. Now, Ferrari have bounced back. And if you look at the grid, it's Leclerc, it's Piastri, it's Sainz, and it's Norris. So it's Ferrari, McLaren, Ferrari, McLaren, which means they're also very closely matched there.
Interesting how Hamilton has fallen out of that bracket of conversation lately.
Yeah, you know, Mercedes, they've been struggling. I mean, this is the 3rd season that we've seen them trying to figure out the foundation of their vehicle, if you can put it that way. So again, this season, they haven't come out of hitting the ground running, but also there are small indications of them also making slight improvements. I mean, if you look at the practice sessions, Hamilton topped the times in FP1, he was 2nd in FP2, and George topped FP3 this morning. So yes, it's just practice, but I mean, they haven't been even up there in practice. So it's a slow process, but I do think that gradually they're finding their feet.
Well, one of the last conversations that you and I had was when the announcement that Hamilton is leaving was made. And we're talking about the timing thereof and what it means. I mean, is his head still in the game also, or is it a question that, look, it's done now, whatever happens, I'll be driving for a new car for a new team next season?
You know, I've heard this question being asked so many times where his commitment to the sport is being questioned. But he's a professional. He's been in the sport a long time. He's been with Mercedes a long time, and they've had a lot of success together as a team and driver combination. So I don't think that he's not trying. And there's something that most people, maybe they're not privy to, but what Lewis is doing different experiments of the setup of the car with the aim of trying to help it move forward. And then they find themselves on race day that it's not the correct setup. And that's why you're seeing like sort of bland-ish performances from him. But if you look in the last race, he did pretty well. And he came 2nd in the sprint race in Miami. So slowly but surely he's coming up. But I don't think his motivation should be in question.
And what then sets Red Bull apart from the rest? Because, I mean, the conversation is Red Bull and the others.
Well, Red Bull, I don't know if you heard, but their chief technical officer, Adrian Newey, he is basically the head designer of the car. He's leaving the team. So let's see how that impacts them going forward, because something tells me that he's the secret weapon in their armor. Yes.
So where's he going? Is joining up with Hamilton at Ferrari?
My guess
because that would be a winning combination.
It should be theoretically, but things are not always that simple. But it would definitely be a dream team, especially with Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc and Lewis, they've got that mutual respect going. So they will have that competitiveness, but in harmony, if you ever saw such a thing.
But in terms of the car, how's Ferrari?
No, Ferrari's on pole, bro.
Because, I mean, I'm just saying, in the bigger scheme of things, you've got a good car, Ferrari, you've got a good driver in Hamilton, a good technician, so that's like the holy trinity of Formula 1, isn't it?
No, 100%. Look, Ferrari, I've always said this, they don't need much in order to start winning. Maybe what they needed was that experienced championship-winning driver, and that's the last ingredient to making them successful. Otherwise, ever since Frederic Vasseur, the team principal, took over at the beginning of last season, we've seen less mistakes from the team itself in terms of strategy calls, the pit stops themselves. They've improved tremendously in that department. I mean, we've seen a sub-2-second pit stop with Ferrari, which is unheard of for them this season. So they are making their way up to the front. They're in the right trajectory, and I feel like Lewis's move is starting to look more and more like the correct one.
Looking at the Monaco layout, I mean, what can we expect tomorrow?
Well, look, Monaco, if...
It's predictable.
Yeah.
Monaco is very predictable.
People say that, but there's a lot of safety cars that have happened in previous races at Monaco. And that always mixes things up. There's rain predicted as well. So a 15-minute splash and dash could mix things up. And for me, what I love about Monaco is how close these drivers get to those walls. I mean, it's a driver circuit where you can demonstrate your driving skill more than the machinery of the car.
You know, I've been wondering, Lufefe, as we start winding down the conversation, is Formula 1 really a big sport in South Africa? I mean, is it? Do people watch? Do people really get involved in Formula 1?
Yo, brah. Formula 1 is massive in SA. I mean, tomorrow we are in collaboration with Patron, doing a watch party in Sandton, where we've invited 120 of the most influential motorsports fans in Johannesburg. So just stay tuned on our channel. We're going to be live streaming live from Azur by the Monarch in Sandton, and it's just going to be lit. That'll give you a sample of exactly what it is.
Is it a spectator sport? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Definitely. I would say it's...
Because, like Rugby World Cup will have like a screening somewhere. We'll have Bafana playing a screening somewhere. I'm sure the Man City, Man United screening somewhere in Eldos or somewhere else. But does Formula 1 also get that attention? Is that what you're talking about, a watch party where people come together and watch the race?
Yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't have as many fans. I mean, football, of course, is the biggest sport in the world. We know that. And rugby, I mean, there's no Formula 1 World Cup, so you can't exactly bring people together for a tournament per se. But it's fast-growing. It's the fastest-growing sport in Africa in terms of viewership.
Fantastic. Lufefe, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming through to speak to us.